and good morning. Welcome to my talk. Have you ever come into your senses that you are living a life full of mysteries? And there are numbers of life's mysteries that are often debated and argued with different scientists and researchers long time ago and even in this present time. And one of the life's mysteries that is often debated and argued with the scientists is the so-called the existence of language or language existence. Have you ever asked yourself or somebody else what is the universal definition of language? How does language came to be? Or does language unique to human species alone? Or it is both unique to human and non-human species? According to the research, this says that the universal definition of language or the criteria of its use does not exist. So take note of the word does not exist. You might ask or think why or how. If we're gonna look at on the internet or look out to the dictionary, they are giving us many definition of language. But according to the research, the universal definition of language or the criteria of its use does not exist. It is because of the wide or huge disagreement among the scientists. But however, they found out or they come up with a so-called bone of contention. It is because they found out a numerous system of communication. So their ideas being or their concept is being united in that discovery, the so-called the system of communication. When we talk about communication, it's about talking or responding to one another. And when we will talk about a system, it speaks about how things run, how things operate, or in generality, it speaks about the process. So if we're gonna look on the different animals, like for example the crab, they are weaving their claws just to let the other crabs that they are healthy and they are ready for mingle. The cuttlefish use pigment or skin cells just to act as a camouflage. Or another thing, the honeybees, they are performing a complex dances just to let other bees the quality of food source. So those mentioned animals are performing impressive system of communication, just like as human also we have a so-called impressive system of communication, because sometimes we communicate with one another with a body language or a sign language. So that is the reason why if you're gonna look at to the Webster Merriam dictionary, this says they have adopted whatever system of communication given or brought by the animals. They considered it as a definition of language. But however, it's still a mystery of it is the still in the process the universal definition of language. But however, there are many definition taken from the internet or the dictionaries. But then, according to the research, the universal definition of language does not exist. Even they're still in the process of studying, like for example, they're studying all about the region, how does language originate or how does language came to be. That is the reason why they are presenting numbers of theories, different theories, like for example, the divine source theory, the Yohiho, the Bawal theory, the natural sound theory, the genetic source, the physical adaptation. There are so many different theories that is presented in order to prove the existence or and the origin of language. But according to Franken and Rodman, they said that language developed over a period of time, or it's developed over a period of time or years as the child interacts with speaking or singing to the adult. And according to them, and it's very crucial, according to them, the children in isolation that does not acquire language. So take note about does not acquire language. So they have an idea that language is a process. Language developed over a period of time. So that is why they are having they conducted an experiment also. Like for example, the chimpanzee and the apes. So they conduct an experiment on that. They train the apes and they interact with them for over a period of time. And you know what's the result? It's shocking. The result is the same. After a period of time, the apes know how to communicate or interact with people. Like for example, they're using body language, a sign language, or the other people, other scientists call it, or other researchers call it the proto language. But for me, it's the same result, the same output, the same training, the same period of maybe different sort of periods of time, but uh, the same output. There is a result. They come up with a language that is being acquired or being produced through the process. So for me, in my personal, I do not know if you're gonna judge me on this, but this is my personal opinion. If we gonna believe on the creation, if you will accept the theological evidences or theological discussion, like for example, if we're gonna adapt biblical views or biblical facts, like for example, we as human and the animals are creation. If there is a creation, there is a creator. And if there is a creator, who is the creator? Of course, there's no other creator according to the Bible. That is the so-called divine source or divine creator. That is God. And according to Genesis chapter 11, verse 7, it says there, God confounded the language of the people. What? It is God who confounded the language of the people. You will ask, why did he confound the language? Or how did he confound the language? How did he know? How did he know to confound the language? It is because technically, he knows how to confound the language. It is because he is the giver. He is the source. He is the creator of human and non-human species. And there is a process in order to acquire that kind of language. It could be a sign language or body language, or in general idea, we call it a system of communication. Well, some other scientists uh, different differentiating or enumerating some qualities of language, like for example, they use discreteness, grammar, productivity, and displacement. Because some of the other animals are performing displacement, some other animals are performing productivity or discreteness, but they are not performing it perfectly like the animals, because we have this greatness, we have grammar, we have productivity, we have displacement. But for me, if one of these qualities is not found in the animals, it does not make them ununique. For me, they are still unique also. Their language or way of, or system of communication is unique unto them, and our way of communication, our way of system of communication in ourselves or both human species is unique also for us. So that's why language is not unique alone to the animals, but it is both unique to human and non-human species. After all, we gonna all realize that we are all human and we are perfectly and wonderfully made. You have to imagine and remember, in day 6, according to Genesis chapter 1 and 2, wild animals and humans are created in the 6 days. And we are, according to the studies, we are the highest form of the animals. After all, we gonna realize that we are all animals. Thank you.